What would the Justice League members be like in the future? This is the Comicstorian channel where I take some of your favorite trade paperbacks and single issues and I break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then I read them dramatically back to you. All alterations of the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. Today we're going to be covering Future State Justice League. So Future State is an envisioning of the future of DC's universe. They took a lot of ideas from different writers and decided to see what they would look like if they got to write the DC universe. DC then took each part of the Future State and made individual volumes for them. Today we're going to be covering what they have dubbed Future State Justice League. And so here it is, Future State, a series that we covered over the course of 3 months. The Justice League first came together, like their predecessors, to fight against a multiversal threat. The battle against a Starro-controlled Darkseid tested their abilities not only as heroes, but as a team. Crisis after crisis brought them together as a team, proving that they were just as powerful as those that came before them. The son of Superman stepped up when the world needed him most. The new Wonder Woman fought to bring peace to gods and man. The new Batman truly saved Gotham. The Green Lantern of a far sector brought the core together. The Flash came out of the multiverse to help solve a great mystery. They stayed behind to help the team. The Daughter of the Ocean took on the role of Aquaman and explored the universe. They are the Justice League. And I hate them! T.O. Morrow shouts as he slams his robotic fist against the table. He begins to cough that he hates the Justice League despite some of the world not accepting them, yet he knows the truth. Ivo interrupts his friend looking at the gathering of the new Legion of Doom. Despara, Amazex, Cobalt Blue, the Screech Owl, the Flood, the Ultraviolet Light. Each of them have their own reasons for hating a member of the League, but now, we won't have to fight them alone, T.O. Morrow cackles. Looking back at the gathering of supervillains, he has discovered a way to defeat the League. Tomorrow, the Justice League will die! And the next day, the Justice League stands in the room where the Legion of Doom held their meeting. Whoa, the Legion of Doom is dead? You want to check the evidence? Wonder Woman asks, but it's Aquaman who shakes her head. They're not Barry, Wonder Woman. Crime scenes were his deal, she reminds her friend. I think we're stepping in the flood. Ugh, Flash says, shaking their boot. Green Lantern continues to scan the room, ordering everyone to avoid destroying any evidence, but Batman suddenly stands behind her. He steps into the puddle that the flood has become, ordering Flash to check for survivors. It's a matter of seconds before they return, informing the team that the building is clear. I can't believe that they left the Hall of Justice like this. What wrecked the place? They ask. John looks around the hall, remembering when he used to visit as a young boy, before he was Superman. He tells Flash that the team had got too big, and that someone used their secrets against them. It's what led to the Justice League Charter. All new rules, the mandatory secret identities, no fraternization, no sharing our true lives, he explains. And Andy nods, telling about how her mom and dad brought her to visit when they were part of the team. So many good memories. I hate seeing it like this, she says as she stares up at the old statues of the Justice League. The League steps outside to the shouts of their adoring crowd. Flash running around quickly, taking hollow selfies with everyone, but Green Lantern hasn't stopped working yet. She looks at the team and tells them to take off so that she can get her job done. It's been a while since I've had an interesting crime scene, she explains. The team begins to disperse and John asks Batman what he thinks about the growing team. But when he turns back, the Dark Knight is gone. The more things change, he sighs, but Yara finishes the sentence. The more things change, she says with a smile, holding up a hot dog for Superman. Come on, have you ever had a hot dog at 1,000 feet? Best in the city, she tells him. They fly above the city and John begins to talk about growing the League. But Yara stops him, reminding him that they all decided that the new rules made things safer after what happened to the old League, so that we'd be a smaller, tighter team and only be together when we were really needed. The Justice League used to be more than a team, John sighs, but Yara points out the city and shows John that they saved the world, that things are better now. Remember, Superman, your father was the man of tomorrow. You have to be the man of today, she tells him and leaps off the building. Meanwhile, at her home in Amnesty Bay, Andy cooks her dinner while informing her parents that the Legion of Doom is dead. They tell her that if she ever needs to talk or needs their help, she just needs to call. Okay, love you, bye, she tells them, quickly ending the transmission when suddenly there's a whoosh of air in the room. How many times do I have to tell you to be careful? She tells Flash as they appear on the couch. Why? Will the king and queen be mad that you're hanging out with someone from a different Earth? Flash asks. They tell her that they were just checking to make sure that she was okay after today. And Andy nods, sitting down with a bucket of popcorn, reminding Flash that they aren't supposed to be hanging out. That's a rule made by the old Justice League that we should have left in the dust, Flash tells her with a smile. Andy opens up her mouth and tells Flash that the rule is meant to protect them as they feed her a piece of popcorn. But why do you break the rules for me, princess? They ask with a smile, when suddenly the beeping of the light's perimeter alarm interrupts them. The Flash speeds outside to find Superman and Wonder Woman waiting. We need to talk, Superman says simply. Meanwhile, over at the Hall of Justice, Green Lantern discovers who killed the Legion of Doom. She puts out an alert to the team with her ring, beginning to tell them who killed the Legion. Hey Joe, Superman calls as he descends upon her. Superman, since when do we use real names? She asks. Meanwhile, at the lighthouse, Andy and Flash are confused. Green Lantern? What do you mean? Superman is here, Flash tells their teammate. Wonder Woman lashes out with a strange red energy and Flash suddenly disappears. Andy hesitates for a second before attacking her two teammates. She lashes out at Wonder Woman with a water-bending power before leaping into the air at Superman. My gauntlets were forged in the depths of the trench. It can even cut your skin, Superman. She snarls as she lashes out at his face. She rears back in shock as she sees a pale white skin beneath it though, the wounds healing up almost immediately. Suddenly Wonder Woman is there attacking Andy with red energy again, and with a flash of light, Aquaman is gone. Meanwhile at the Hall of Justice, Superman floats down before the Green Lantern. What did you find, Joe? He asks, and she drops down into a combat stance knowing that it was Superman who killed the Legion. She launches forward with an attack, commanding her ring to scan the imposter. Scans show that this is Superman, John Kent, the ring chimes. Joe tries to hit him again, but Superman holds up a box and hits her with the red energy, and she disappears. The Green Lantern is taken care of, report in, Superman commands, and throughout the world, the Justice League is being taken care of by their own team members. Superman falls, Batman and Wonder Woman, and at the Hall of Justice, the League suddenly appears through a portal. I hope the League enjoys the hell that we were trapped in, Batman tells his team, and Wonder Woman and Flash look at Superman asking if it was wise to kill the Legion. They freed us, the Flash reminds them. Superman smiles as his image shifts and morphs, and the others drop their own disguises, and suddenly, the Hyper Clan stands ready. White Martians that journeyed to Earth in the guise of heroes. Their plans of world domination were destroyed when the Justice League stomped them. This time, though, we'll just be the Justice League. Come on, let's save the world, their leader states as he shifts back into Superman and the team takes flight. With the White Martians taking the roles of the newest Justice League, they make their presence known by aggressively acting out as heroes. Each one taking on the traits of their counterparts, but with a little more force. One night upon returning to the Hall of Justice, the fake team brings in a couple of humans for their experiments, and one member of the Hyper Clan asks how long they're going to continue this ruse. Their moves are becoming increasingly risky. The leader of the clan, Protex, tells them that it doesn't matter. They have what they need. Too many times have they let the Justice League control their fate. They tricked them into believing that they were human and then locked them up and banished them. With the real Justice League gone, these so-called scientists will finally give them what's theirs, the world. A few members of the clan state that this is all unnecessary. The humans believe them to be the Justice League and they worship them for it. Maybe they could find happiness here. But as the Martian finishes, Protex blasts them away, turning them into a smoldering pile of ash, stating that they are owed vengeance. The Justice League must pay. Meanwhile, over on a scorched world, Superman says that he thought that the Phantom Zone was bad. Green Lantern says that her ring isn't picking up anything from the archives. The only thing that she can tell is that the air here is extremely toxic. Anything that tried to live here would die in a matter of days. Superman then tells her, that's the scary thing. We have no idea how long those imposters were acting as us. Our rules of keeping everything separate and never knowing each other's real lives let that happen. Batman calls out that arguing won't help them. We have to find a way home now. Flash laughs. That's rich coming from some guy with no powers. What help are you going to be on another planet? Aquawoman tries to manipulate the nearby water, but as nothing comes, she says that there's nothing out there. This planet is just fire into ash. Wonder Woman then yells that she found something, and everyone hurries over to a pile of rubble that once used to be homes, and they see something written on them. Both Superman and Green Lantern look at it, realizing that it's Martian. Aquawoman then says that she cut the fake Superman. He didn't bleed. And when she was a kid, she heard that the Martian hyperclan attacked. The punishment was more brutal than anything that they had tried before, and she overheard her parents arguing about the punishment. Her father felt that it was too cruel, but she never heard what that punishment was. But now she knows. They sent them to a world made of the thing that white Martians fear the most: fire. Green Lantern begins to scan the carvings, asking if the Legion of Doom had a white Martian. These carvings, they looked more like a blueprint, a way to enslave humanity if they ever escaped. They really need to get home. Aquawoman then asks, how does she know that they aren't white Martians and this is some kind of trap? Batman tells her, Green Lantern's ring can't be replicated by white Martians. Aquawoman, you failed your aquakinesis, which feels convenient. But really, it's Wonder Woman, Superman, and Flash that I'm worried about. As white Martians, they can easily replicate there. Superman asks, what are you doing right now? Who are you to question anyone? You have no powers, which would make you the easiest to pose as. Hell, you've kept your identity secret from everyone. Batman asks, how did your father revealing his identity to the world work out for him? As the two begin to argue, Green Lantern pushes them apart, stating that they get it. They're big boys. The white Martians can fake some of their powers, sure, but there are other ways that they can show them who they really are. Green Lantern looks at Wonder Woman, saying she bites her lip when she's stressed, like when Superman and Batman started to argue. And Wonder Woman says that Green Lantern uses more elaborate constructs when she's feeling cocky. Superman only ever talks about how he wanted the League to be like his dad's, where everyone knew and hung out with each other. And Superman looks at Batman, telling him. And sometimes Batman starts humming to himself when he fights, like he's giving himself his own fight scene music. Flash then says that Princess Andy talks in her sleep, and Superman laughs. Princess Andy? Guess some of us really know each other. Batman then says that all of these things a telepath could know. Talking about feelings does nothing to get them home. He then turns to Flash, telling him that they aren't even from this world to begin with. How can they prove that they haven't been a Martian all along? Flash moves their fingers, stating, wow, it's nice to know that we still don't trust each other, but how about this? I could feel the vibrational frequencies of this world. A white Martian can't do that. This Earth, it's not Earth 0. The vibrations are off. We must be on a new Earth within the multiverse. Batman says that's very convenient to tell them now. But Aquawoman draws her blades, telling them to back off. Flash says that they should be able to give them part of the Speed Force and possibly get them back to their world by jumping frequencies. All they have to do is run. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Protex begins to set the last piece of his machine in his Martian form, and one of the other Martians asks why he isn't in disguise. Protex laughs, stating that today is the end of humankind. Wanted to dress the part. With our Martian technology combined with the new Hall of Justice, we'll be able to connect our minds to every human on this world. They'll revert to their primitive state, perfect for enslaving. We'll be seen as gods! But at that moment, there's a crack of lightning as the real Superman leads the League out of Flash's portal, yelling, surprise! HyperClan, right? Protex shouts, no! We were so close! Don't let them steal our revenge! Wonder Woman flies in, hitting the Aquawoman Martian, telling her, I'm not a fan of hitting my friends. As Superman asks, wait, we're friends now? Aquawoman swings, asking, how do I know which one's the real Green Lantern? And Batman tells her, the one not using the constructs! The Flash begins to spin around with Superman punching him, but Superman shouts, it's him! Flash stops, realizing their mistake. We're sorry. But the Martian Superman blasts him, telling him, tricked you! Wonder Woman then jumps onto the Martian's back, wrapping her chains around his neck. Yeah, and you just gave yourself away. Green Lantern gets ready to attack Flash and Batman and asks, what was my first relationship in the city enduring? Batman tells her, Zine of the Cliffs, by the streaking ice. Who could forget a name like that? And Flash tells her, yeah, we're friends here. Green Lantern then hits them both with a construct variation of the real Batman and Flash, stating, wrong. He never told that to the League. Only mind readers would know that. Batman then stands over the reverting Martians, telling everyone, good job, we defeated the Martians. But Superman grabs him as his eyes glow. You didn't hum! The Batman Martian reverts back. Please, we surrender. Just don't send us back to that hell. Inside of the hall, both Flashes attack one another as Protex's machine begins to activate. Aquawoman rushes inside, asking which one does she attack, and both Flashes yell, we're the real one, but we're running out of time. One Flash shouts, do it now, princess. Aquawoman says fine and attacks the Flash. Protex was mimicking, and the real Flash asks, how did she know? and Aquawoman says that only one person calls her princess. Now help smash the machine. Protex gets back up screaming that this isn't over. Tomorrow belongs to... But before he could finish, Batman hits him with a flamethrower, telling him tomorrow belongs to Justice. So a short while later, after the Martians are taken away, Superman tells everyone, good job. Since the mission is over, we can all head home. I guess I'll see you guys later. Green Lantern flies up telling him, wait, maybe we could all grab some dinner. Superman asks, what about our identities? And the Green Lantern tells him that knowing each other better helped them out today. Maybe it's worth the risk. So a few months later, after rebuilding the wrecked Hall of Justice, Superman looks up at the statues of the old team. And Wonder Woman asks if he's ready. Superman tells her that he just has some butterflies. That's all. He's always wanted a Justice League like his dad's. And as the two walk into the conference room, Green Lantern tells them that they're late. Wonder Woman asks who made her leader, and she tells them when they all voted her to be the leader. Listen, we've all been through a lot together, and the old Justice League rules held us back. Batman removes his cowl. It's about time we made new rules. And Green Lantern says, exactly right. Now that we're all on the same page, let's get down to the first order of business. Who do we invite to our Justice League? Two men stand around a burning oil can. They discuss how the sunset looks different today, and one man nods, telling him that it's all the pollution in the sky. Nah, that's what they want you to think, the other tells him, and he explains that the blue sky is merely a glamour, a fake that people behind the veil want you to see. The real color shows the feelings of the world for that day. The old man looks at the sky, seeing how it looks like a bruise, knowing that something awful must have happened. Aren't you supposed to be blind? His friend asked. Elsewhere in the Mojave Desert, in the not-so-distant future, Bobo looks out over the landscape with Zatanna, reminding her that things are bad, that Merlin returned and draped the sky in glamour, that their team lost its way, but they step down from the hill and they look at the surroundings of the burned witches around them. This is really bad, he reminds her, as Zatanna nods, going over past events. Merlin took all magic. The Tower of Fate fell, Khaled disappeared while looking for a way to fix the helm. We resisted, we fought, we were betrayed, and we lost, and this is what it's like to lose. She tells him as she motions to the burned stakes. Zatanna sighs. She's long past fighting back at this point, but Bobo continues to look at the scene with his magnifying glass. He informs her that this is definitely Merlin's hunters. They've rounded up the prisoners and tied them to the stakes. Bobo keeps looking, finding footprints that indicate that the hunters were led by a knight, and he looks at the patterns of the burns. They burned them one at a time. Made the others watch, Bobo tells her, and Zatanna finally turns away. It was torture. They were interrogating the prisoners. That's why the knight was here, she tells him. And she looks around wondering what they're looking for, but stops short when she sees the charred remains of Zuriel. How did he let himself be caught? How did they burn an angel? Bobo gasps. And Zatanna turns back to Bobo, telling him that the demons should see this. Bobo argues for a minute, but finally begins the spell to release him. Gone, gone the Simian, rise the demon Etrigan, he chants. In a burst of flames, the chimp is replaced by the Duke of Hell. Etrigan curses, reminding the magician that he hates being summoned, but he pauses when he looks up at the charred remains of the angel. Great foes, angels and demons, are you not? Does it bring you joy to see him like this? Zatanna asks as Etrigan hangs his head. She points to their dead friend, reminding Etrigan that this is the price of his betrayal. Etrigan looks at the palm of Zuriel's hand, finding an amulet clutched there. Zatanna is shocked, wondering who would be reckless enough to deal in magical items with Merlin's hunters around. I know of one so naive, Etrigan rumbles. Zatanna looks at him. She doesn't know why he turned his back on them. The least you can do is show me where this all came from. The door chimes at the relics and riches. Rory Reagan steps from the back, yelling that they are closed, and he stops short when he sees Zatanna and the demon. You're safe! You have no idea how glad I am to see you, Zatanna shouts as she rushes forward to hug the man, and Rory tells her that he's been laying low, and this used to be his father's shop, but he stops short, pointing at Etrigan. What's he doing here? With everything you've done? You've got some nerve showing up here, he snaps. The demon holds up the amulet, reminding Rory that if he can follow the scent of magic here, so can Merlin's hunters. Rory sighs and explains that he tried to tell them that it would get them killed. Why wouldn't they listen, Rory? Who did you sell this to? Zatanna asks. Rory goes back behind the counter, telling her that he's had several random conjurers show up. There's a few big hitters. Zuriel and John were working together. He explains as Zatanna is shocked to hear John Constantine's name, and Rory explains that he wouldn't tell him what was going on. But I'm no fool. I know what they were doing, Z. He tells her as he pulls out a map. He shows her the map and explains that they were planning on casting a cloaking spell. She asks if he knows where they were planning to cast it, and he points out a place on the map. I'd probably put it somewhere around here, he explains, and suddenly Etrigan interrupts him as he peers out the window. Shh, hearken and keep to the shadows, you boots. We've lingered and now there are dogs at the doors, he whispers. The sound of banging can be heard at the door as Merlin's hunters order Rory to open up. They know that the back door will be covered, so Zatanna turns to Etrigan and tells him that they could fight if he'll help. I cannot stand against Merlin's foes, he explains, and Rory gets angry that Etrigan still won't help them, but the demon explains that he made a pact, a contract. My pact is nothing about aiding others. There is yet a way you could fight your way out, he explains, and Rory stares at him for a moment before realizing what he means. No, anything but that. He leads them downstairs and explains that Ragman's suit has a mind of its own, that it hungers for souls, and after it ran out, he kept it chained in the basement gathering dust. Don't make me do this. Please, he whispers, but Etrigan reminds him that he is the Duke of Hell and has many souls. He offers them to Rory, telling the Ragman that it should be enough to get them out of the fight. I cannot be seen fighting alongside you, so I leave. Do not summon me again. Etrigan rumbles at them before he disappears. The hunters outside hear voices from inside, and suddenly the front of the store explodes outward as a Ragman leaps among them. The demon's souls make it truly a monster as he smashes and destroys the many hunters. They retreat in fear, trying to pin down the beast with their magical attacks. What kind of a soul did Etrigan give Ragman? Bobo questions. A very large and angry one, it would seem. Zatanna notes, and Z casts a spell, causing the ground to rumble beneath the hunter's feet. She turns to Bobo, ordering the chimp to open up the portal with his sword. Ragman, we're leaving, she shouts, and the monster tears through the hunters to get to her. As Bobo opens up the portal, Z tells him to get close to the east side of Vegas. And later, the trio stand on a rooftop, unable to find anything. Maybe I got it wrong. I suppose I could have made a mistake, Rory tells them, but suddenly a light flickers to life from the shadows. A mistake you made, Squire? Was not taking my advice in the first place. I told you to leave it alone, didn't I? John says as he steps out, revealing the scar on his face, and he smiles to Z, exchanging pleasantries. Bobo steps up, asking if John is building a safe haven with his cloaking device. Safe haven? Is that what you think this is? John asks, as he leads them through the slums, explaining that they are merely trying to buy themselves some time. Who's we? Zatanna asks him, and John leads them into a bar, revealing Madame Xanadu. We've been following her cards. They asked us to hide someone here, but lately, that's all they say. Who, John? Who are you hiding? Z continues to ask, and John pours himself a drink and points to the old blind man sitting outside. Are you serious? You've been watching over him? Z asks in anger, and Xanadu finally speaks, reminding Zatanna that the cards are never wrong. Protect the old man at all costs, they whisper. Over and over, she tells her. And she draws the cards again, and John looks up in shock. They changed. You picked up a different card. He gasps as he looks at the devil card. The group begin to question what that means, but it's Bobo who sighs. I hate this part, he tells them, and in a moment, Etrigan appeared once again, cursing as he steps into the rain. Where is this old man you wish me to look upon? The old man is standing in the rain, holding a cup of coffee, and he opens it slightly, revealing what's inside to be glowing. I have looked into my coffee cup, and it has shown me this moment. I am supposed to meet you here at this hour, the old man says shakily. Etrigan stares for a moment before revealing that the old man is covered in a glamour that only a demon can see through. Etrigan rears back, breathing hellfire all over the old man, and the visage of the old man begins to melt away, revealing the truth before them. My God! Xanadu exclaims, and Khaled stands there apologizing for his deception. He explains that he had to remain hidden from Merlin and that only Etrigan could reveal the truth. So I could tell you about Jason Blood, he tells them, and he puts on the helm of fate. So listen carefully to my story before we make our final stand, and I will tell you of the future that I saw and how we may change it. Khaled tells everyone that it was many years ago, while he was seeking a way to fix the damaged helmet of Dr. Fate, that Merlin attacked the Tower of Fate. Like all the other magical anchors of the world, it too fell, but without Nabu's voice guiding him, resistance was futile. He thought that maybe going to the tomb Kent Nelson found, he might get some answers. He might even find Nabu. But what he found was not Naboo. It's where he met her, Huhet. She said that she could mend the helmet, but because she was far older and less naive, there would be a cost. Altered by Huhet's touch, the helmet burned into his mind visions of the future yet to be. He watched as Merlin used the Tower of Fate to cast a glamour upon the entire world, a spell to hide himself and his actions. He watched Merlin recruit his knights and bend the magic's untamed will to his own, honing it into a weapon. He watched the cleaving of the two, the human and the demon race once joined to a violent purpose, parted by violence in turn. He knows why Etrigan won't fight, because there would be consequences that would fall onto Jason Blood. But really the truth is, Merlin destroyed their friend. Jason Blood is no more. Etrigan shouts, "No, you lie! You have battles to fight and villains to foil, but untruths you set my blood to boil." Khaled says that he has done his part. He turned himself into an old man, kept his spell a secret even from himself, just to reveal this truth here and now. Jason Blood is gone, he is lost, perhaps, but he is still here. Merlin fears him, the last remnant of Hell's power on Earth. So Merlin found a way to take that courage away. But now there is a choice to make. Keep walking down this road out of Cardboard Town, or turn back and confront all that has happened. Khaled places the helmet back on, stating that whatever he chooses, know that they are all that stands against Merlin's wolves, and that they are already at war. As Khaled leaves, Etrigan scoffs, telling him, "Humph! Now, Chip. I can hear you disapproving in there." Inside, Bobo asks if he's really going to walk away from it all. Take the easy way out. Enough with this damn moping. Fate just said that Jason Blood was dead. It's difficult to take, sure, but we've all got friends out there fighting. So if he keeps walking down this path, they're going to have some problems. Etrigan asks if he really thinks that he'd win in a fight, and Bobo tells him of course not. But it's never stopped him before. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Zatanna and Ragman fend off Merlin's hunters as Constantine and Xanadu try to rescue as many people as they can. But just as things started to look good for the heroes, there's a thundering boom as Merlin's circle appears in the sky. Along the ground, Khaled struggles getting up, and one of Merlin's knights asks what he was thinking. He should have known the moment that he came out of hiding that they'd come for him. The helmet was the last piece of Merlin's puzzle. He should have known that he couldn't run forever. Khaled gets up, telling him that he knows more than she thinks, Enchantress, and that there's a difference between hiding and waiting. Enchantress removes her helmet, asking what could he possibly be waiting for, and at that moment, Ragman clears a path, breathing fire down as Constantine and Zatanna walk up. Enchantress asks if this is what they've been waiting for. "Don't you see what Merlin's order has brought to us?" And Constantine tells her that it's just a glamour that he cast so that people would never see the burning in the cages. Enchantress scoffs, telling Zatanna that they are very much the same. "Why stand opposed, Zatanna?" Zatanna winces, stating that she had a friend once. She could have been many things. A warrior, a god, a witch, a queen, but she chose to be herself. If she is here, then she'd say that even the gods are jealous of the mortals, because even though they may live in pain, they die free. Enchantress asks, "So you wish to die free? That can be arranged!" Suddenly, there's another earth-shaking explosion, and lightning begins to strike all of our heroes. Khaled falls to his knees, and Enchantress begins to remove his helmet. And as he screams in pain, something rockets by, knocking her with enough force to throw her down and lose control of her spell. She looks over to see a shadow, and Etrigan steps forward, shouting, "Rise, the demon Etrigan!" He then jumps down, slamming his fist into Enchantress, stating, "Come from on high, a wizard to lay claim over magic from this earthly well. The coward, he sought this fury to tame, only to be foiled by a demon from hell!" As Etrigan savagely punches Enchantress over and over, he picks up her lifeless body, screaming to Merlin, "The fires and beasts of hell hath woken, all between us now cindered and broken. Your champions, they tremble at my feet. Do you see? Come out, you coward, I say unto..." But then an angel's sword shoots through the air and into Etrigan's chest. Up atop a building, Merlin stands with a knight, stating that he was wondering when the covenant would be broken. Etrigan says, "Fair words from a forked-tongued oath-breaker. 'Twas you that killed Jason Blood, Forsaker." As the knight jumps down, Merlin asks, "Killed? Why, I've been nothing but kind to Jason. Why not ask him yourself, Etrigan? Etrigan looks at the knight walking forward. Jason? The knight rips the sword out of Etrigan and removes his helmet. It is Jason Blood, and he states, look at you. Pathetic, all of you. The honorless trickster, an illusionist tethered to an evil she cannot kill, a sorcerer who hid at the first sign of peril, a coward who fears the power of his own suit, and a demon who deems himself a hero. You tried and you failed. How long did you flounder through the absurdity and whimsy of magic? It has been brought to order under Merlin. He has accomplished all that the Justice League Dark could not. For once, I was offered a choice to be at his right side, so friend, do you yield? Etrigan laughs, telling him, what bitter joy it is that Merlin's machine has found a cog, but demon's blood runs deep. It'd rather die in hellfire than live like a dog! Merlin tells Jason to give the demon what he wishes, and Jason lifts his sword, telling him, very well! As the sword comes down, there's a loud cracker as Khaled shields Etrigan from the strike. Jason steps back and Khaled looks up asking Merlin, shall we have a bargain then? Jason brings his sword up, telling him, you have nothing to offer, but Merlin stops him. Let the good doctor speak. Khaled stands up, telling him, you will spare me. You will spare all of us. And Merlin asks, why would I do that? Khaled tells him, the helm. This is what you wanted. The one thing that you cannot have, the power to look into the future. But you know that you just can't use it. Otherwise, you wouldn't bargain for something you could just take. Merlin laughs. It would seem that you aren't fools. Khaled goes on telling him, if you spare everyone here, then you can have me as your personal oracle. Etrigan tells Khaled to wait, but Khaled kneels down, telling him that this is the only way. This is why he had to lie about Jason Blood. This is what he was waiting for, this choice. When Hewhett restored the helm, he didn't just see one future, he saw them all. He lived them all. Some short, some eternally long. That is the price that he paid. There is only one future in which they win, and this is not one of them. But you are a demon of hell, and you perceive time differently from the rest of us. So remember, past actions may yet be influenced by the future that you have seen. Khaled then stands up, telling him, freedom for freedom is fair trade. John, it matters, everything we do. Rory, you will rise above your own powers and see you have brought us together, even in this dark hour. We would have been lost without you to lead us. Diana believed in you. I do too. When you doubt yourself, remember, where there is magic, there is always hope. And as Khaled finishes, everyone watches as he turns his back and walks through a portal, following Merlin. Neptune. Jackson Hyde surges forward in the water, the strange-like creatures right behind him. He's almost at the surface when the shark grabs him by the foot. There's no escape, Earth Spy! The guard shouts in the shark's back, but Jackson whirls around, punching the shark mount in the face. He keeps going. He keeps pushing. He keeps seeing the light of the surface just ahead, when suddenly he stops, a look of shock on his face. Impossible. He whispers, and he begins to laugh as the guards grab him and drag him back into the blackness of the deep. Later, he's held in chains before the head of the prison. The alien creatures regard him with dark eyes. 300 failed attempts, and yet, something is funny, prisoner 31814. Jackson looks at him darkly. Jackson, my name is Jackson Hyde. I'm the Aquaman, he tells the warden. The alien is taken aback, and all of his time there, Jackson has never given his name or his rank. Everything's changed, Jackson explains, telling the warden that he wants them to know before it happens. Because she's out there. She's coming. It was 6 years ago that Jackson was floating in the water. The destroyed ship floated nearby, smoke trailing in the sky. He awoke sharply and moved to find Andy. As they floated together, Jackson reminds her that he ordered her to stay back while he dealt with Black Manta. Yeah, because you fighting your psycho dad has always been so great for us, Andy snaps. Jackson gets angry, pointing out that Andy never follows his orders, never takes his training seriously. Maybe it's you, Jackson! Maybe you're not Aquaman and you never will be, she shouts. She gets angry, her eyes begin to glow. The sharks begin to circle around them and Jackson is shocked. Andy suddenly stops though, becoming ashamed of herself and swimming away. Jackson chases after her, asking why she didn't tell him that she could talk to fish like her father. But Andy looks at him, explaining that she can't talk to sea life. She controls them. There's a big difference, and I hate it when it happens because it's wrong, she says. Jackson stops her, telling her that he isn't judging her, but he's trying to keep her safe, when suddenly their conversation is interrupted as they realize that the water is changing around them. Now they're floating in a sea of green. They swim to the surface, shocked to see that the sky is pink above them. What is happening? She asks, fear creeping in her voice. Go back under. Look for something you recognize. Jackson orders her, and as they swim beneath the surface, they realize that none of the sea life looks normal. I don't think we're on Earth anymore, at least not our Earth, Jackson tells her. Jackson continues his story, but the warden interrupts him. Remarkable, you and your apprentice discovered the confluence, the one great ocean that connects all time and space. I do wish you talked more candidly from the very start. Could have greatly improved your time here. Time passed and Jackson and Andy found themselves on a beach. They had passed through 7 worlds so far. Getting caught between dimensions of whatever, it's pretty common for people like us. If you haven't been through this at least once, they don't even let you in the Justice League, Jackson tells her as they watch the sunset. Liar, Andy says with a snort of laughter. That's what I heard. Andy and Jackson travel from world to world. They helped people wherever they could, but they had no way of knowing that the great oceans were protected by the same beast. They swam faster, but it didn't matter. The great monster lunged out of the water, tentacles swirling around them, grabbing both of our heroes. They both became tired, and Andy yelled for Jackson. Paralytic! Something in the tentacles! He gasped, and he hit the beast with an electrical shock, forcing it to let him go. He began to fall, but he managed to grab a hold of Andy's leg. He sent another shock through her and the monster, causing Andy to scream in pain. But the massive tentacle refused to let go this time. Let her go! Let her go! He screamed out in rage, tears filling her eyes as she tells Jackson that she's not going to make it. Water foaming from her hand, creating a powerful knife. No, don't you dare! Jackson yelled at her, but she slashed it downward, cutting off her own leg, sending Jackson plummeting to the waters below. As Jackson finished his story, the warden looked at him, and he explained that they're an advanced society, and that if Jackson had been more forthcoming with his story from the beginning, they could have helped him forget this trauma that has plagued him for years. Nothing is going to happen here. Our security is absolute. Our controls are unmatched. They've always have been. Let us help you, the warden tells him. Jackson nods, admitting that he finally figured it out, and he makes a fist, flexing his muscles, pulling at the chains that hold him. He's been in shock this whole time, deep trauma affecting him mentally, physically, and he thought that he had failed Arthur and Mara, that they had lost their daughter, that they had let Andy die. Your control, these restraints, they're designed for how strong you think I am, how strong I showed you I was for a long time. If she survived, then I kept my promise to her parents. I gave her everything that I had, everything that she needed to survive, and now she's given it right back. He snarls at the warden, ripping against his restraints, pulling them from the ground as his tattoos begin to glow. He whips the chains around, knocking the guards easily, and he leaps forward, smashing his fist against the warden's throne. Wait, is she here? The warden demands, frightened, and the image of almost reaching the surface fills Jackson's mind. Aquawoman lives, the words spelled out. And as the guards fill the room, Jackson takes the coral that he had ripped from the warden's throne. Magic swells, creating watery blades out of it. She is. Come on now. Not polite to keep her waiting, he tells the warden as he begins to stride towards the guards that have floated into the room. "6 years ago, Aqualass washed up on the shore of a strange island, blood continuing to pour out where she cut off her left leg. Memories of her and Jackson fighting against the great beast begin to fill her mind, and suddenly she hears a voice. Hello? Excuse me? The voice sings to her. She awakens to crawl away from the water, but the voice continues. All this blood, do you need all this blood? The school of shining fish sang to her. She screams in pain as she reaches for what remains of her leg, and she begs the fish to help her. Help me, please? She gasps at the fish, but they shake back and forth within the water. We cannot yet. Not without discussions with our headmaster. Glimmerfish deliberations will last no longer than 6 of your months, they tell her, but Andy begins to cry, demanding that the fish help her. Help me! You have to help me! She screams, her powers lashing out, compelling the glimmerfish to aid her. One of them suddenly leaps out of the water, altering its state and transforming into a new leg for Andy. Shocked, She flexes her new toes, marveling at how the leg feels like her old one. "Return our brother to us! Leave this island at once!" the school of Glimmerfish demand. Andy stands on her new leg, explaining to the fish that she didn't mean for this to happen. And she promises that she will return their brother after she finds Jackson. "We will not permit this! You will not survive here without our aid," the school informs her. "Well, my brother is Aquaman, and he taught me everything that he knows. So I'm sorry, but I probably will." The first lesson was hunting. Jackson told her that she shouldn't rely on her powers to survive, so he showed her how to create a bow and hunt for her food. Her first attempt failed, bringing forth laughs of triumph from the Glimmerfish, but finally she completed her task. "There is no moment in which your survival is deserved," the fish tell her. The next lesson was desecration. Jackson taught her that not everything had to be a fight. She tried to come to an understanding with the Glimmerfish while she built her shelter, but they did not wish to listen, still demanding that she return their brother. The next lesson was how to fight. Jackson knew that Andy should know how to defend herself, and the strange frog-like pirates arrived to try and take her things. But Andy told them that she wasn't defenseless. "Hands off my stuff!" she snarled as she knocked one away. The next lesson was perseverance, and Jackson knew that one day she would be exhausted, that she would have to push through. Andy stared at the tidal wave that swept towards the island. She pushed out with her powers, straining to protect her shelter, and when the wave passed, everything was destroyed. "Okay, fine, I'll go, whatever," she sighed, and Jackson taught her that there was always a time to retreat. As she swims from the island, the school of Glimmerfish follow her, still demanding that she return their brother. She turns on them once again, explaining that what happened was an accident. "Then leave him here with us. Leave him here with his family," the fish ask her quietly. But Andy shakes her head. "When I find my brother, I will bring yours back, I swear," she promises, and she continues to swim through the great ocean. Day passed into night. Andy slept while floating along, and her leg, it began to talk. It told her that she'll never make it, and Andy yells at her leg to stop. When the day passed, she finally spoke directly to her leg. "Hey, Glimmer leg fish thing. If you tell me why I keep shifting from world to world, I guess you can talk." And the fish explains that she is traveling through the confluence. It explains that the confluence is alive and that Andy is controlling it subconsciously. It is taking her to her brother in the best way that it knows how. So for 5 years, Andy travels through the confluence. She rides sharks while strange apes chase her through a great forest. She fights alongside the frog pirates. She wrestles giant cats. And finally, she stands on a rock amidst a great ocean. Finally, she has arrived, and she can sense that Jackson is trapped within the prison beneath the waves. "I'm going for him. Tonight," she tells her leg. That night, they swim down beneath the ocean, and she is flanked on all sides by strange sea creatures that call this place home. The prison's defenses are no match for them. The piranha-like fish easily make their way past the wall guns, devouring the guards that they come to. The giant sea creatures attack the walls, shrugging off the defenses, eating any who get in their way. And inside, Jackson continues to fight his way through the guards. "I'm not going back this time. You want to stop me? You better go all the way." He snarls at them as he kicks another in the face, and one of them stuns him from behind, dropping Jackson to his knees as electricity pours through his body. The others gather around, continuing to shock him as the power goes out in the prison, but the glass shatters above them, and Andy leaps into the chamber. Jackson gasps with a smile, and the water pours into the chamber with Jackson wielding it to throw the guards away. He looks at his friend, shocked at how much Andy has changed. "Have you been here the whole time?" Andy asks. And Jackson nods, explaining that they thought he was a spy from Earth. Anger fills Andy as she launches herself at the guards. "I'll kill every last one of you!" she bellows, hitting them hard, cracking their armor with the pure rage of her assault, and she throws one to the ground, hitting him again and again until her fists are coated in their green blood. Finally, Jackson stops her, reminding her that this isn't their way. He ducks another attack, telling her that they only take what the two can give them. "So we give them nothing. Break them all the way down and leave them alive so that they remember who did it," he tells her as he grabs the guard's spear, twirling it, knocking the guard out in one move. Finally, the two break free of this prison, swimming towards the surface, and the sunlight shines upon them. Andy is still enraged, but Jackson finally gets through to her. "Hey, I'm out. They can't follow. It's over. Let them go," he says gently, motioning to the sea creatures that still surround them. Andy's eyes go wide, realizing what she's been doing, and she releases her hold on the creatures, and they slowly swim away. Jackson rubs his neck, smiling at her. Okay. That was some save, partner. He begins, and she begins to cry. Jackson swims to her, pulling her into a hug, promising that they will find a way home. We won't lose each other again, he promises, and he looks at her, reminding her about what he said about dimension hopping and fighting otherworldly creatures. That's how you make the Justice League. He smiles, and Andy wipes away a tear. Liar, she sniffs. That's what I heard, he promises. Inside the Checkmate headquarters, somewhere in the Swiss Alps, the Thinker continues to move the various units of Checkmate around the globe. But suddenly the room is filled with Team Flash as various speedsters use the Rogue's gadgets to take down Checkmate's guards. Avery throws several of the stun tops, quickly knocking the guards out, while the others flood into the chamber. Barry nods, aiming Captain Cold's gun to create an ice wall and stop the Thinker from escaping, but the Thinker turns, revealing that he is the Calculator and has recalibrated the Thinker's helmet to be way more powerful. He uses his advanced mental powers to hold all of the speedsters in place. This doesn't add up. Checkmate knows you speedsters lost your speed, but how? And we know that you've been stealing weapons from your enemies, but why? Suddenly, a spectrum portal opens up behind him and Impulse is there, yanking the helmet off of his head. And we know you talk a lot, Impulse jokes. The young speedster riding the spectrum over to the other Flash is proud that they finally have the tech to save Wally West. Barry nods, telling the others that it's time to go, but what they don't see is the Calculator pull a device out of his pocket. Max tries to hit him with the weather rod, but Calculator's device shoots out a laser beam that hits the spectrum slide that the bar is moving on. The spectrum shatters like glass, shards piercing through Bart's skin in seconds. No! Barry screams as he cradles Impulse's dead body. I wasn't fast enough. Max gasps. The room is suddenly flooded with Checkmate's soldiers as the Flashes quickly escape. Later, Barry sits at his lab, continuing to tinker with the Thinker's helmet. He knows the others are in the next room, wallowing in their own misery and pity about what happened to Bart. But he can't let that stop him now. Something in the Speed Force changed the Wally that he knew. Something made him hungry. He took the speed from Barry and the others. He killed Wallace West. It has been 5 years since Wally killed Wallace. But Barry refuses to give up hope. He will find Wally. He will save him from whatever is turning him into the monster that he's become. Finally, the helmets are complete and he begs them. Barry dives through the snowy night in Central City, finally arriving at Avery's apartment. The group is there watching the TV report about a speedster that is killing people. Have you heard, Barry? This has to stop. Max and Jay agree. Avery tells the Flash as she lets him in. The older men sit on the couch, nodding their agreement that Wally's terror needs to end, but Barry shakes his head, telling them that there is still hope. Wally is inside whatever that thing is, and I believe that he is signaling for help. He tells them a story of when he was Kid Flash fighting against Captain Cold by himself. But the first Flash fact that he had to learn was that sometimes you just need to stall until help arrives. I think our Wally is stalling for backup. Why hasn't he killed us yet? So Barry comes up with an idea. Using the Thinker's helmets, they should be able to overpower what's going on with Wally and get into his head. Find out how they can help him. Everyone nods and they put their helmets onto their heads. In Fuji, Japan, Wally is a blur of emotion as he attacks a group of super beings. The Flashes can see him though. They're practically standing right there as Wally continues to fight. They're in his mind. Wally, stop! Jay shouts as they watch their old friend go in for the kill, but Wally reaches out, sucking the life out of the villains. Suddenly, a ghost of Wally appears near them. No! He screams and they all turn to the apparition. Wally tells them that he can't be stopped, that it's using him to kill and Barry needs to just stop him. The rider of the apocalypse. I am famine, Wally screams. He's lost his marbles, Barry. But Wally explains that he's been hiding his mind in the Speed Force. You did good stalling, Wally. Backup's here. We'll work together to stop this, Barry tells his young friend, and Avery questions whether Wally can reconnect to the Speed Force, but the young mind shakes his head. No, he'll find us, so he'll drain us, Wally tells them, and the group tries to come up with ideas, but they're suddenly interrupted as Jay cries out in pain. The group turns around to see the physical version of Wally holding Jay by the throat. He could reach us on the psychic plane? How did he know? Max shouts, and Wally turns to them, an evil smile on his face. I've known the whole time that you were here, but I could not resist letting Wally fuel your despair, stall you, while I feed on you," evil Wally tells them. The others can feel themselves being drained by the smiling, evil version of Wally, of famine. Barry rushes forward and he simply passes through the man, and with a flash of lightning, Jay is suddenly drained by the monster. The others can feel his energy dissipating as Wally continues to smile, and he continues to feed on them, but finally he decides to throw them all away. Suddenly they're pulled free as Irish removes the helmets from their heads, Avery and Max managing to awake, though they're both damaged. The group cradles the body of Jay Garrick. His spirit was broken in the psychic realm, and his heart gave out. Tears fill Barry's eyes. He couldn't save Jay. He couldn't save Bart. He couldn't save Wally. He knows what he has to do next, and he storms into the next room, opening up the vault that has become his lab. Weapons and gadgets from villains that he has fought over the years line every available space. He has to stop Wally before whatever consumed him destroys the world. "I have to stop Wally for good," Barry whispers. In the ruins of the Flash Museum, Barry Allen works tirelessly on his next plan. It's been 2 months since Wally murdered Jay, and with everything else that's been happening, it felt like years. But he stands strong. Even as war, disease, and starvation run rampant across the globe, he must focus on the work that must be done. However, the question remains, are they racing towards Armageddon? Is Wally an instrument of this apocalypse, a tool of famine? No matter the answer, Barry knows what must be done. To end all of this madness and death, he must stop Wally West. Though there is reason to believe that Wally is still in there. The conspicuous murders of known criminals, the sparing of most innocents, the evidence tells him that Wally must be influencing the thing in control. There is still hope to save him. What's left of him, at least. So now, without the Speed Force, he must focus on science. Science reveals answers. Answers build hope. So he focuses on the task at hand. Questioning what he's become is a pointless distraction, though. Pushing through the heartache of Bart, pushing through the failures of Jay, forgetting the disease that took Max. Don't imagine what happened to Iris. And for what he's about to attempt, he will try not to imagine all that will happen to him. That is why, before confronting Wally, he will have to leave a journal behind, a record of all of his experiments, to maybe inspire others to fight the impossible. However, as Barry transmits the data from his ring to the computer, he leaves, not seeing that the transmission failed. This battle isn't like any that he has had to face before. There is no stalling for time or waiting for backup. No wearing the opponent down. Whatever's gotten into Wally, he is battling it alone. His own science versus the speed. Just focus on the science. Science reveals answers, answers build hope, and hope is power. Equipped with the tech of dozens of his enemies, Barry steps out to lure Wally. The thinking cap should, but before he can even finish his thought, Barry feels the cap taken off of his head. Wally holds the cap, telling him that they don't need this to sense all of those vile urges inside of his head. What is this? Armed with weapons of those that he fought against? It is a sad day when a mentor, an icon, falls so far from his own standards. Because clearly, whatever he has planned for them, whatever he becomes, it is positively vicious. Barry tells himself to focus on the science. The science will reveal the answers. So he quickly grabs a boomerang and throws. And as he steps back into the air with Trickster's flying shoes, Wally grabs him, telling him, "Nice try!" However, this is what Barry wanted. The modified weather wand tips activate, absorbing Wally's Speed Force energy into the reverse generator, creating a negative Speed Force energy. Barry releases the energy, stunning Wally just long enough that the boomerang returns, slapping Wally's neck. The inhibitor collar keeps Wally in place so that the Prisma goggles can cleanly cut through Wally's legs. Barry says that he's sorry, but suddenly the body vibrates into nothing, and Wally speeds by, telling him that that was just horrifying. That Wally was a Speed Force duplicate, but that did hurt. It would seem that you're not the successful supervillain that you had hoped to be. This is it. It shows itself. The flute's hypnotic waves are making it angry, and it's about to get a lot angrier. Barry activates Mirror Tech Duplicator, sending out dozens of copies, all to keep Wally occupied, and next up is the Still Force. It passes through the duplicates, but severely slows Wally down. He could end this, but he has to try one last time, one last attempt to separate Wally from this thing. Barry calls out to him, asking if he's there. If he is, listen, we can fight this thing together, Wally. Remember all the stuff that we have overcome together. And through a brief moment, Wally asks, why is he doing this? Why is he killing him? Barry says that he's only trying to stop the thing inside, and Wally yells that he is weakening him too. Wally staggers forward, stating that they need help. They need magic, Xanadu, Constantine, anyone. And Barry pauses for a moment and then blasts Wally with Cold's freeze gun. Wally would never ask to endanger anyone else after what he did to Jay. The twisted Wally vibrates, melting the ice, telling him, "You're a clever man, but surely you must have known that ice wasn't going to stop me. What were you hoping to have happen next?" Barry says that he was hoping to stop him by stopping Wally. Suddenly, Wally's body tenses up and he asks what is happening. Barry tells him that the fuel in the ice gun was modified. He just inhaled it by melting the ice. The ice that he ingested contained a genetically altered form of Wally's DNA. The re-engineered DNA is now propagating throughout his body with speed, force, velocity, changing him and destroying the skeletal muscles, eliminating his abilities to run. Now get the hell out of Wally! As Wally's body falls to the ground, a creature steps out, stating, "Now that is something to savor. For this moment where you burned your dreams for Wally with the nightmare of silence. For this moment when you realize the sacrifice. I am famine! For it is the famine of hope itself that gives me life and purpose. But never have I been more sated than the starving of boundless hopes as so many invest into this Wallace West. And in you." Barry slowly begins to put it together. Famine isn't feeding on the physical. He is feeding on Barry's hope. And he's been with him all along. Jay, Max, Avery, that's what Wally was trying to say when they were in Wally's mind. Wally looks up at Barry asking why. And Barry says that he has failed him. He is so sorry. Famine yells that it is so intoxicating. The taste of your despair and the dying of Wally's final hopes with you. Barry says that he sought to save Wally, but he has brought war to his enemies to do it. He had planned to stop him, but he only starved everyone and led them to death's door. He tried to save the world by bringing a pestilence to Wally. War, famine, pestilence, and death are within him. These are the voices within them all. And he will still fight. He will fight for Wally. He will fight for everyone. Because despite the horrors spawned by his best intentions, in spite of his indulgence of the worst within himself, he will not succumb. Famine laughs, telling him that that is such a beautifully tragic poem. His endless capacity to build the hopes from which he will fall transcends the divine. And it proves your worth, because your hope will die infinite depths between your heart and mind. Then Barry hears a voice, and Wally says sorry. As Famine merges back into Wally's body, he says that the science and faith has no power here, but please don't stop fighting back. They just use the speed force to push him a moment outside of time, and he will walk this world as an immortal ghost, an incorporeal witness as death throes are devoured. It is in their delicious natures to feed him with despair, just as it's Barry Allen's nature to replenish hope, no matter the setback. He'll just keep running. And as Barry's body fades into the wind, his ring falls to the ground. And after some time, a hand reaches out and Cybeast radios to Starfire that they lost Barry Allen, though he has intel on the Riders. Barry's ring is loaded with data. Barry may have just given them a fighting chance for a better tomorrow. And there you have it, Future State Justice League wrapped up. Now, you might be noticing if you own the book that we didn't cover the Green Lantern storyline. Honestly, we never did when it came out. I was not a fan at all of the Green Lantern storyline, so we just didn't cover it. So our full story for Justice League is missing Green Lantern. But honestly, I don't think it's that big of a deal. If it is, let me know in the comments down below. Maybe one day we'll get back to doing the Green Lantern. But other than that, thank you for watching today's full story. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you next week with the next piece of our Future State storyline. See you then.